People talk about changing the world a lot these days. You see it in videos, you see it on TED Talks, and you see it in all different types of social media. People saying this and that. But if you really want to change the world, that was strange. Okay. People are always talking today on social media, different platforms about how to change the world, how to make the world better for you, and how to do this and that, how to really change the world. You see it in TED Talks, you see it social media posts. If you really want to know how to change the world, pick up a book. Teach someone the joy of reading. No one wants long form anymore. We don't have time for it. We want short, concise. We want AI to write it. Doesn't sound like a world that's better than the one that I grew up in when people had books and read them and enjoyed them. You know what? The great thing about being a writer is it's a twofold thing. Because you get to create a world with your imagination that didn't exist. And it exists nowhere but in your mind. And then you create it. And then you share that world with others. And then you encourage them to use their imagination and build upon your world. How do you do that in 2 sentences? How do you do that when the world is cramming it down and saying it has to be less, it has to be less? Would you spend $20 for a book with 3 sentences? Not unless you're an idiot. No. Words are powerful. Books are powerful. All of the great fortunes that the world has known, okay, especially in America, were built by people who read, okay, because that's all they had. And it taught them to build an imagination, and it taught them who read, okay, because that's all they had. And it taught them to build an imagination, and it taught them to create a world and take it out of their mind and bring it into the real world. I think that we should be frustrated that so much good content and so much good work is out there and it's not getting read. It's like everyone says we're moving forward. No, we're moving back towards the dark ages when 5 to 10% of the world's population were literate. By doing this, we're not only teaching people to cram less and less. We're taking away their opportunity to use their imagination and to build things in their minds. People write for a lot of reasons. They write to enlighten others, they write to entertain, they write to inform. How are we doing that in a few sentences, and how does that make sense? You know, pick up a book. In today's world, there's a good chance that you probably know a self-published author. Have you read their book? Are they your family? Are they your friend? We have more writers today than ever in the history of the world, and probably less people reading, and that's just sad because they just want to read a sentence or 2 sentences on a social media platform. That's not how you build a creative and informed world. That's how you build an ignorant world. Instead of giving someone the full story, you give them small bits of it and then they make up the rest whether it's true or not. This is not progress in a society. Now, I understand there are some of you that don't like to read or have always been. That's never going to change. But we are denying so many people, especially young people, the gift of reading. We give them phones instead of books. To me, it just makes no sense. What world are you going to build? We give them phones instead of books. To me, it just makes no sense. What world are you going to build with a phone? Open a book and read it. And encourage others to read it. And encourage others to use their talents and use their gifts to write and entertain and inform. Not on social media, but everywhere. It doesn't teach everywhere that it's okay to take a book. You don't need to take a phone. You don't need to take a tablet. Pick up a book. Feel the pages. Okay? Think about what was going through the author's mind when he or she wrote that book. Become intimate with that book. Learn the story. Learn what's behind it. Let me end with this. Describe your life to me in one sentence. Okay, I'll give you 2 sentences. Describe your entire life to me in 2 sentences. You can't do it. There's a reason for that. Because sometimes in life, no, every time in life, life is long form. Let's learn to get back to reading and to the power of the imagination that we instill in others when we encourage them to read. Thank you. Someone asked me where my mindsets come from. That's an interesting question. It's not an easy one to answer. They can come from this right here, from nature, just being outside and being invigorated by how it makes me feel and what it makes me think. But in the beginning, it was something different. In the beginning, it started with something that we all face: anger and frustration. You know those moments in life when you feel everything is just unfair? But instead of lashing out, I turned to writing and looking at things from the inside out. Because there is depth to everything. And I needed to understand and not react. And that's where it all began. I don't want to teach you how to win, but how to lose with grace. I don't want to teach you to be stronger than others, but instead be humble and kind to those weaker. I don't want to teach you how to build fortunes, but how to spend what little you have on those who have even less. I don't want to teach you to stand with others, but instead stand up for others. I don't want to teach you to rise in stature, but to rise in character. I don't want to teach you to build success, but teach you to recognize it in the small things. And most of all, I want to be a student in a world where I learned how to teach all of these from watching everyone else. Let me tell you about you. You are more than you realize. You were designed for more than you can imagine. You cannot even fathom the purpose that you were built around. And yes, you are built around a purpose. You are not just a creation with a purpose, and it's at the core of your existence. We are not weak when life becomes difficult. We are strengthened because we are forced to seek that which we are built around. And when we persist in seeking, we discover our power gifted to us in this purpose. We must understand there was nothing left to chance when the elements of our creation were forged. There are no obstacles we cannot overcome and evils we cannot quell. Purpose is power. It's desire defined, patience perfected, and infinite possibilities forged in faith. Once you know this, you have become dangerous to darkness. Our recognition of divine purpose makes us aware of our power, and the devil fears it, for his deceit is no longer a weapon against us. You are dangerous to dishonesty and detrimental to defeat when divine purpose is your priority. And though the world may mire in malevolence, you will not be a slave to it, but instead a master of righteousness. This is power poured and molded within you, clawing for escape. Every greatness which you are capable rests within this power, and every weakness and temptation in creation will stop at nothing to keep it locked within your core. But it will fail, because purpose cannot be caged, only housed, until it is awakened. So stay vigilant in the quest to remain unbroken before it awakens. Soon your purpose will wake, making you a giant with the wickedness that attempted to defeat you crushed under your feet. And all the while, heaven rejoices as that purpose arises within you.
Welcome in, everyone. Today I'm here with CL Harmon. How you doing?
I'm well, thank you.
Good, good. Today we're going to be talking about his book, Climbing Out of Hell. So if you could please just tell me about Climbing Out of Hell.
So, Climbing Out of Hell is a compilation of writings that I call mindsets, which I've been writing for about 25 years. And they sort of started out as these little, I guess you could call them poetry. They were basically just my perspective on looking at the world and things in the world. And so it just sort of evolved into what they are now. So, and it can be on any subject matter. So they're not very long, usually pretty short, and I just try to pack in a lot of meaning in a few words. I think a lot of good things in life start out kind of with a dark origin, because we're a lot of times in life we feel like we're in the dark and we're reaching for the light. This was one of those things. I was at one point in my life when I was younger, I was clinically depressed, and that tends to give you a very negative sort of outlook on life. But it gave me what I called at the time like a very unique sixth sense of being able to see the world a little bit differently. And so I just started writing that, and as that depression lifted and I came out of that, I started seeing, as I started drifting through life, I started seeing things in a much more positive light. And so I began to look at those and just began to write about life in these very short little, I guess, quips, if you will. People seemed to like them. So I started every place I've ever worked as a journalist and started, they ran them. And I started getting a lot of feedback and response, people liking them. And so they just grew from there. And I couldn't even tell you how many I've written over the years. I mean, I published them. This is the second book, Mindsets. And, they're on my website, CLHarmon.com. I've had them all over social media for the last several years. So I've been able to really formulate a lot of positive messages, I feel like, in the world, and it seems like there's a lot of response to that. I feel like a lot of times the world seems like a dark and cold place, and these things seem to be a little bit of light. They seem to be a little bit of light within that dark world. And so I have followers or readers, if you will, from all over the world. People that will in some way find them and read them, and that's it. And so that's where mindsets are, and they're really sort of hard to explain. I think the best definition is for your people to read them themselves. Yes. And so I encourage people to go to clharmon.com and read, and just sort of find out, an internet search, and under my name, and several should pop up, or maybe take you to my blog, that sort of thing.
Okay. Would you say that these are more up to a self-interpretation in the form of being able to relate it in their own ways, but still having this overarching message?
I think it's just looking at everything in life and trying to find a positive aspect to it. Okay. I think it's more about how it's written and how it's arranged. I think that most messages are pretty universal. It might be kind to someone, or forgiveness, or it might be like happiness or something. I think those are all pretty universal concepts that we all understand and agree with, or that we all at least understand. But I just sort of take them and put them in a different light, just put a different spin on them. And I think that, being able to do that in a constructive and creative way appeals to people. I think is how I would explain that.
So these covers, I'm trying to figure out how to bring this up after that. So tell me about the cover art and whatnot. It seems very stylized and designed. What's style? You can hold it up.
So this is, and I'll give a shout out to my graphic designer. His name is Nathan Johns. The guy is really talented. He's very, very good at being able to take just a oral description of what I want and turn it into exactly what I want. Okay. So Nathan, when I told Nathan what I wanted, I had this vision, and on the book. So I'm going to start. So this is the cover, front cover, but I want to start with the back. So basically, what I wanted to convey is that all of us in life end up, as you could say, our own personal hells. Okay, we end up in these really dark places in life, these really miserable places where we feel like, we can't get out. It might be depression, it might be grief, it might be, just utter chaos in your life. But something that we all, if we live long enough, we've all experienced that, right?
Yeah.
And so mindsets are positive. They're sending an uplifting message that, in a constructive and unique way. So the concept of this book was that this is a hellscape. So this is like you're in hell, but there's a way out. Okay, there's always a way out of our personal hells. Okay, but how do we get there, right? How do you find your way out? And so as the book kind of moves over to the front cover, you start to see this sort of a more peaceful, serene setting, and you can kind of see some green. And up at the top here, you have these steps, and at the top here you can see this, you can see blue sky. Anyway, but which is probably very difficult on the camera to see, but
I'll throw up some graphics.
Okay, yeah. So if you look here, there's things like choices and happiness and knowledge and wisdom and things, and acceptance being a big one. There's these things in life anyway, and they're all on these steps. And in each time that we learn and we start to do these things, we're taking a step out. Anyway, so that's what the book signifies, and I feel like that it's like the book is full of positivity and helps people sort of find. I feel like the book is full of positivity and helps people sort of find their way out. And I want to point out that it could be on any subject matter. I mean, it could be I feel I'll get a message, I'll get a feeling, I'll get something, and then there'll just be like a hook that comes to me, and then I write around that and with a message. And so, but instead of me trying to explain what they are, it's just, I think once you read one, I think that is sort of a definition for all of them.
Okay.
So that's I think at that point you're like, oh, I see what we're talking about, because it's very hard to convey, for me to describe them, in a complete way. It's just easier when you read it. It just makes more sense.
Absolutely. Okay, so I think you said earlier, but could you reiterate where people can find these?
Yes. So this book is available on Amazon. And it's the easiest way to get it. It's available in other ways too. I think if you just search the title or search, my name, you'll find other ways, or avenues to be able to purchase the book. But I do want to reiterate that I write new mindsets all of the time. So this book has ones from in it that I've written in the last 2 to 3 years, but new ones are available on my website. And I don't. It's not like I charge to go to the website. I really do want people to go read positive messages. I want those messages to be out there and to help people. It's not about making money or selling books. Not that I don't want to sell books, of course, but the messages are important to me. I feel like that they help a lot. And so I do make them available on the website for people just to go and read, and hopefully, it's the message that they need to hear that day, or they read a message that says, hey, I know somebody that I want to share this with. And so that's, I would like people to go simply because I feel like it's a positive energy that I'm trying to release in the universe to help people. I don't do negative things. I want to leave this world better than I found it, and the only way to do that is to try to make it better and to put positivity in it. And so, I mean, there's enough people in the world that put a lot of negativity in there, and I'm just trying to put a little positivity in there and balance that out. So anyway, so I hope people will check them out. Like I said, they can find it on Amazon, and they can also go read them at clharmon.com.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Mindset is everything. It truly is. But what is a mindset? It's perspective, attitude, and most importantly, it's an aspect of our belief systems. I began writing mindsets 25 years ago. They were born out of a Christian faith, a battle with clinical depression, and a strong desire to help people while learning how to live a joyful and meaningful life with all of them at the same time. They are an effort to reach a part of everyone, regardless of their faith or where they come from. They are a journey through life in words that I hope to share with others in hopes of helping them in their lives. They are experiences where negative and positive become wisdom and not outcomes. Mindsets have been published and read by countless people from around the world. It is my hope that everyone who has read one took a bit of it and added a small bit to their own mindset. What we communicate and put out in the world matters. It propagates change. It defines who we are and who we were. Mindsets are a part of what I put out in the world, and a part I will leave to it. My book, Climbing Out of Hell, is a collection of mindsets with each conveying a particular message, and yet collectively as a book containing a central message of hope, understanding, and a deeper perspective than most of us experience on the surface. It tells a story of rising out of the darkness. The cover of this book is a unique concept. It's one which illustrates coming out of the darkness. It's a hellscape with a set of stairs leading out. Simple in concept, and yet it encapsulates life for so many of us, I think. Finding a way out. Most, if not all of us, feel trapped at times in life. We feel lost in these personal hells, lost as to how we escape. We simply don't know the answers to find the light. But as we traverse our hell in our daily lives, we must only recognize the steps that lead us out are not hidden. It's just that our eyes are closed. They are always there, but only become visible when we speak them. Mindsets are indicators to help us see, recognize, and ultimately find the steps out of our hell. I hope you will check out my book, Climbing Out of Hell, and let it add to your mindset. Life is uncertain, it seems, a wilderness full of risk to be traversed. But risks are stepping stones leading to fate once we start taking them. And fate is not idle, but patient, waiting for us, keeping us company, walking with us. And though we may not know our fate, it knows us. It shows us the way through the pitfalls in the wilderness, leading us to what we call risk, and what it knows is fulfillment. Nothing we earn, achieve, or acquire will honor us after we pass. All of it will become worthless or the property of another. The memories and the words that we leave with others will be the only personal part of us that we leave behind. When we embrace this, all that we strive to earn, achieve, and acquire become only goals, and we become the legacy left behind. We tend to measure life in hours and years. This implies an urgency to accomplish and succeed before it runs out. How different, of course, our lives might be if we measured life in distance. This implies that the only limit is the one we create if we choose there are no directions to explore with accomplishments we care to seek. Everything we truly desire is on the other side of struggle. Everything we need to overcome adversity is on the other side of strength. Everything else in between those 2 points is perseverance.